Hi, my name is John Corporal, the service manager at Tri-City RV. Today we're going to provide you with a how to use video of a Cherokee travel trailer. This particular model is the 294BH. This video though will provide information for all the Cherokee models since they are the same, however things might be in different locations. So first of all, we're going to go around the exterior of the coach, show you everything on the outside, then we're going to go on the inside and show you how everything works there. All travel trailers have a 12-volt battery. This has a brand new interstate battery. When you're plugged into power, it automatically recharges the battery. When you're not plugged into power, there's things inside such as the carbon monoxide propane detector that will be whittling that battery down. So if the trailer just sits in the yard or next to the barn or the garage, it is going to drain that battery if you're not plugged in. If you are plugged in, it does put a 2-amp trickle charge to the battery to replenish it. You should also check the water in that battery periodically if you leave it plugged in all the time, at least on a monthly basis, because as the battery charges, it boils water out. Make sure that you check that periodically if you're on a permanent site or leave it in constantly. LP tanks are full, ready to go. 2 20-pound cylinders topped off. And this is right here would be the most important thing to tell you about it is there's a little lever. You want to step in and take a look at this? This is a selector knob, so right now it's pointing towards that tank. That's the tank that it's taking its fuel from. If I turn that, now I've pointed it at this cylinder, that's the tank it's taking its fuel from. Of course, you got to have the valve on to make that happen. You can see now that just turned green. That means it has adequate gas supply. If that was red, that would probably indicate that the tank is empty. It's an auto changeover. If I leave it plugged in or turned on to this cylinder and it runs out, it will automatically kick over to this tank. As long as the valve is turned on, it will keep on flowing the gas supply. Of course, until both cylinders are empty. Tanks are always full on a Tri-City RV unit. Ready to go. Power tongue jack. It has a up and a down. This takes a lot of the hand cranking out of it. There's a little light right here in case you're doing things at night. On the top of it, there's a little rubber cap I can open up, and if you look down in there, there's an emergency override. So just in case something happened where my battery was dead or so on, I got the crank right here. I can operate it manually. I'm never dead in the water. If my battery was dead, the first thing I would do is plug into the truck, because my truck should be equipped with a 12-volt charge line, which will also let me power that jack. So this would be my last case scenario. We keep all those cranks right in the front compartment. And if you want to take a look at that front compartment, I'll just buzz you through that. So of course that crank I just showed you. This is your speed wrench, which is a 3/4 inch. This is for your stabilizer jacks. So these are stabilizer jacks, not levelers. Once I have the trailer sitting level and how I want it, these come down to balance and support. These aren't something that I can actually level the trailer with. That would be done before I unhooked. But easily to go down. Some people like to use a cordless screw gun or an impact, but again, remember, they're not leveling jacks. They're just to stabilize you. So don't go over torquing them. There's the detachable cord. We have our shop cord plugged into it today, but we also give you the reducer that takes you from 30 amp all the way down to the 15. So that's also provided here. All of our items normally sit right in the front cubby so you can see where they're at. We got one more thing to talk about, and this is the emergency slide out crank. So you would need like a screw gun or a ratchet, but you could actually put this into the, there's a hatch for it on this particular model. Some Cherokees are different. This is the hydraulic system setup, but right here there's a spot where I could put this in and operate them slide outs. Override, so it's a backup feature. So now we've talked about the LP, and just so everybody knows, things that run off the LP is the cook stove, the refrigerator, the furnace, and the hot water heater. And some of those things have a gas and electric option, which we'll get into, but those are all things that need LP gas supply. Okay, this is a hot water heater on a Cherokee. They use Suburban brand. This is a gas and electric hot water heater. If I look right down here low in the bottom left corner, there's an on and an off switch. This is where I turn on the 110 element. I would never turn that on unless I know that there's water in the tank. We are de-winterized position, so we're in the summer mode. So all the antifreeze is out of the lines. The water tank is full. It's ready to go camping. So I can turn that element on if I know them things are ready to go. Right here in the bottom, there's a drain plug. That's an 1 1/16 socket. You pull that out, that would drain it. If it's gonna be a long time in between trips, you wouldn't want water to get stagnant, so you could pull that out to drain it. Definitely for winterizing, it has to come out. This is also a gas water heater, so it works off of gas or electric. I'm gonna show you a switch on the inside, automatic ignition, turn it on, lights by itself. It runs off the thermostat, so these will run until the water is satisfied. They shut themselves off. Nothing you have to do other than turn the switches on and off. That's the hot water heater. On the exteriors, they all have a spot you can hook up cable TV. So there's a little coax jack right there. If your parks have cable, none of your state parks will, but some of your city parks, your county parks might have that option. This particular model has the slide toppers on it. These are something that protect the roofs. The slide out roofs on a travel trailer are flat, so there's no runoff to them. The slide toppers protect and remove debris. Like if you have leaves or twigs or anything like that, you don't have to really worry about sweeping them off. This is kind of a cover that goes over the top and provides that for you. So this particular unit has 2 slide outs. There's no locks or latches on those. They ride right out with the rooms. When you put the rooms in and out, they go in and out. There's nothing else you have to do. We do recommend that you store the slide outs in when you're not using it over long periods of time. But there's no right and wrong there. It's just if you're not going to be using it, we feel that they should be closed up. This is where you power the coach. In your front compartment is where you'll find your cord. So this is a twist lock cord. It only goes on one way. You put it on, you line it up, you twist lock it. You got a threaded collar to hold the cord on. It comes with 25 feet of cord. I would recommend that you have 50 foot of extension. So that's 30 amp extension cord, not the twist lock end, that stays with the coach. But the 50 amp extension cord, that gives you a total of 75 feet. Pretty much gonna cover you for most situations. So I would recommend that you do pick up 50 foot extra cord so you're not short when you get to a campsite. This is the fresh water fill. So there's 2 ways to use the water system. You have a pump for onboard tank, and you have a city water hookup right here where you can hook a hose up directly. When you're hooked up directly to city water, there's no need for the pump. It works right off the pressure from the line. The freshwater tank, this would be when you're going to your state parks, you're going primitive. You need to take your water with you. So you're gonna stick a hose in here to top it off. On this model right here, as it fills, you see the white hose right here. When it gets to the top, that's an overflow vent. So you'll actually see water come right out of that white hose once that tank is topped off. Right next to it right here, this is your fresh tank drain. So if I didn't use all the water, I wouldn't want to leave it in there. I would drain it. So this is a shut off, okay? They all have that and they're always next to each other. Some of the drains on the Cherokees also have a pull valve, which is a white valve. Okay, it looks a little different than that. Actually, it looks a lot different, but it's right next to that overflow as well. There's always a way to drain the freshwater tank. Okay, so now you have 3 holding tanks on this trailer. You have 2 for wastewater, and you have that freshwater tank, which is your onboard supply that we're talking about. So right here, when you're using the water on the inside, you got a gray valve and you got a black valve. The gray valve is for all of your sinks and showers. So anything that goes in a sink or a shower goes into the gray tank. And then you have the black valve. Anything that goes down the toilet, and that's the toilet only, goes into the sewer tank, and that's the black valve. All of these tanks have gauges on them, so you can monitor them along the way. So 1/3, 2/3 full, so you can always keep an eye on where you're at. I would recommend on the black tank that you start with the gauge on 1/3 full. That's going to amount to probably 10 gallons of fresh water in that sewer tank before I even use it. I'm also going to add the bluing, which is the chemical or the packet, but you have to get some type of a chemical down in that tank as well. That's going to provide, like when you're using the stool, it's going to go into like a blue solution, kind of as if it was a porta potty. So that way at the end of the trip, when you pull that valve, it's got some flow. It's got more water than anything else, so it's going to actually move on out. That brings me to this. This says right here, black tank flush. So if I hook the hose up at the dump station to this, and that's a direct feed into the sewer tank to help rinse it out, I have to be cautious. I don't want to hook a hose up to this and not have the valve open, because it would fill up the tank and potentially come up through the toilet. That's a big no-no. This right here allows me to rinse the tank from the inside out. So I would pull up to the dump station. Got a 10-foot sewer hose right here, provided from Tri-City. Clamp that on the end, you would drop that down in your hole. That's closed, that's open, and now I would turn that hose on immediately, and that would help rinse that waste out of that tank. When you think it's all empty, I'd like to see you fill it up half or 2/3, even full, for the ride home, and let it do a slosh. That's going to get any residual out that you might have missed. You do that until it's pretty much crystal clear coming out of there, then your tank's good to store. If you don't do that, you're going to end up with gauges that don't work or build up in that tank, and your gauges will never read accurately again until you actually get it cleansed out thoroughly. So again, that hose just stores right in the bumper. Got a little cap to hold it in. Okay. We also have an outdoor shower on this coach. So this is another faucet, a hot and a cold faucet. I'm going to go ahead and open that up for you. So when it comes to washing something off or something you don't want to take inside the coach, it's got a little holder right here for the head, hot, cold. You can also shut the head off with this little ear to conserve water. Okay. Definitely something that you don't want to forget to winterize. It's a whole nother faucet outside. And any professional winterizing it would already know that. So if you're doing it yourself, just don't forget. On the rear of the coach, spare tire provided by Tri-City. This has a flip down storage rack, so I could simply just pull this upper pin on both sides, and this just comes down. I put the pin back through so that it doesn't bounce, both sides. Okay, now I got a cargo rack. So it has a 200-pound capacity. They make things that clamp on here, which we provide in the parts store for your bike tires. If you decide to use this for a bike rack, they make a Stromberg part that you can put on there. Other than that, it is what it is. It's a flip-down cargo rack. You can use it for whatever purpose you decide. I'm going to go ahead and put that back up real quick. 2 pins. Really nice feature. On the back right here, there's 2 tabs. That's going to be for your permanent trailer plate. when you leave the first time, most trailers will leave with their temporary, unless you've already done your paperwork. If we put your plate on here, that means that your registration will be inside in a little clear packet. That means you've already done your paperwork. If not, then when you get your plate, we provide you the bolts. You set her on right there. Right up here, there's a prep, the black thing, the Furion. It's prep for an observation camera. I think roughly around $300 to $400. They make a camera, so that will help you with backing up while you're traveling. If you're using your rack for things, it keeps an eye on that. So some people really like those. They work great. They're wireless. They come with their own monitor that goes in the truck, and it just makes things pretty easy. Okay. The 294 has the outdoor kitchen. Right. So the refrigerator that's inside the coach is gas or electric. The outside here is just electric. So this one works off of 110 only. It won't work when you're traveling down the road unless you have 110 power somehow. Okay, freezer on one side, fridge on the other, tray. This is your cooktop, which is a 2-burner stove. This is a quick connect fitting. So this is just like an air compressor fitting where it clicks in. So right here's my gas supply. I'm gonna show you real quick. Got a little rubber plug, click it in, and then there's a little valve you gotta turn on. If you don't turn it on, you're not gonna get gas supply. You have to turn it off or it will not disengage. That's the whole idea with it. And then put your little dust cap back in the hole. Keep it as clean as possible. That's a propane stove. The ice maker in here, you add water to it. It's not hooked to the water system. You should be putting purified water in or whatever. It's your ice cubes, of course. And then you got a faucet. Another thing you can't forget when you winterize. We have a little switch in here, and I can also turn these lights off individually with a button on them. So I only want one or something along them lines. Okay, that's the outdoor kitchen. Has a leash latch, little tie down for a leash or whatever else you want to tie on there. This little compartment is exactly what it says. It says it's not a storage compartment. It's where they access the drains for the tub, so nothing to go in there for. This has an outdoor TV bracket. So we give you the other end that goes actually on the TV that's inside. And this slips in here so you can move it in or out. 110 power for the TV, plug it in. Right here we got an HDMI and a coax. The coax is if you were hooked to cable on the other side, you could get a feed to hook up to this TV. Or if you got just off your local channels, we have a digital antenna on the roof where this will also feed through this coax. I'm going to show you how to turn that antenna on when we go inside. And the HDMI is if it would stream back to the radio inside in case you wanted to use a Fire Stick or some other type of device to play video out here. Okay? Then you got your 2 outdoor speakers. That's also controlled from the radio on the inside. You can turn those on or off if you want them or not. This range vent, this is above the cook stove inside. So if you're cooking, you're going to want to open this up and turn the fan on. That way your exhaust is going out. And that also snaps shut. Okay, so to keep the birds and the bugs out. And just a little storage position and a use position is all it is. Your lend a hand, this just swings out. Alright. This has a solar prep, so if you're doing primitive stuff, you can get a little solar kit that plugs in and it'll provide you 12-volt power or recharge your battery. Things that won't work unless you have 110, air conditioner, microwave, you have to have 110 power for those to work. Everything else would work, your refrigerator, your furnace, awning, lights, slide out, that's all 12-volt stuff. But no air conditioner, no microwave unless you have 30 amp service. Okay, We got a power awning on this coach. This is a Lippert. If you look at the very top, there's a little round rubber cap. You guys see that up there? Okay. Underneath that rubber cap, there's a 7/16 nut. Again, it's a manual override in case something failed or I needed it to ran out of battery or something along those lines. But there is a way to also operate that awning with a 7/16 socket manually. All right, we're gonna go inside the coach. First thing I'm gonna show you is how to set the steps up. So I open this. I got a little release lever. I pull my steps out. These are my stable steps. I more ride. Okay, and it comes down. If this isn't sitting down tight on the door threshold, then I have to make an adjustment. Right here, I have pins I can pull out, and I can slide these legs in case the ground is not level or so on. So I just have to make sure that that's sitting down tight on the door threshold. That way my door and everything works freely. Okay? If you understood, if that was up, then it isn't going to let the door work freely. Okay? So that has to be level, set up. Every time you set your campsite up, real easy, 2 little pins. So along with the main door, you also have the screen door. Okay, got a little lever there. Also pull that back so you can reach your deadbolt and all those things. Alright, we're going to enter the coach. So at this point, I already have the coach leveled. I would already pretty much have my stabilizer jacks down, ready to go. So now I'm going to put the slide out. First thing I do is I come inside. I got 3 switches right here. I have my hallway, which is my main lighting. I have my LED lights underneath my awning. And then I have my LED lights and my decorative lights on the inside. And then this one right here, this is a little courtesy light that you've seen over by the sewer dump and the water fill station. That in case you're doing something at night. Nice little switch right there, a little courtesy light. Awning and slide room, that's my last 2 controls right here. So slide room out. This is the hydraulic system. So you'll hear it making you can hear the pump running. And I just have to make sure that there's no obstructions every time. Because if I'm not the last one in here, if somebody left something in the way or anything like that, it could definitely cause some serious damage. So you got to make sure all the doors are latched, nothing got tucked in behind there during travel and so on. So just make sure you take a good look around before you ever move your slide room. And I'm listening right about here. Hear how it really revs up? That's when it's all the way out. When I bring these rooms in too, I'm going to also listen for it to rev all the way up. They move at different paces. So when you see this room go all the way out, then the back room will start. So just make sure you're listening. You're kind of using your ears for that one. The other button here is the awning, extend and retract. So if you want to take a look at that awning, I'm going to go ahead and extend it. I always put myself in a position where I can see it. So I'll kind of hang myself out the door. Here we go, we're extending. There's no locks or latches. All there is the switch. Got to be the most simple thing to use. Compared to the old manual awning, I'm going to say they're way easier to use, but they're not quite as rigid. So if it's going to be stormy and things like that, you're definitely going to want to keep an eye on it. I'm going to show you how to tie it out. So right here, if you look, see how the balance came out? Now I can see the tube. That's how I know I'm all the way out. So on this model, my entry door is shifted towards the front. So if I want it to drain, I'm going to drain it towards the back. On the Lippert, you just come right here. This is your adjustable pitch. If I bring that down, now you can see it has some runoff. If we're getting any kind of rain, you got to have runoff. If you don't have runoff, it's going to pool up and potentially collapse. So you got to really be careful with that. I would have a ratchet strap right here. You can see there's a shaft on both sides. You look up here. Okay, and they make those dog screw tie-outs that thread in the ground like a dog screw, you know, to tie them up outside, and a ratchet strap right around there. Just holding it down taut. You're not cinching it down by any means, but it's taut so that it's not going to sit out here and do this in the wind. You got to look at this like a big kite or a sail, because if the wind really catches it, it could definitely take it right off. So they're made to shade, they're made to protect you from water, but they're also something that needs to be watched if they're in use so that nothing happens to them. Okay? Even though I left this arm straight, I would still tie this end off. So if it was a rain, I would have it tilted, but I would also be on high alert, watching it, being cautious with it. If you know it's going to be stormy and it's something you don't want to deal with, you see how easy it came out, it goes in that easy as well. So use your best discretion or however you want to use your awning, but potentially, I mean, they can get damaged really easy in a storm. Let's just leave it at that. Okay? I don't want that to happen to any of you guys. All right. So I don't have to, as long as I didn't tighten this joint down, I can tighten those and leave it angled, but I don't want to. As long as I got them loose, they'll straighten right back out on the way in, so I wouldn't have to angle that. Awning retract. Again, it just rolls itself back up. There's nothing you got to do. As long as you didn't tighten down those adjustment points, those arms straighten right back out on the way in. This will stop when it gets all the way in, all by itself. That's all there is to it. So now we're inside the coach. We've put the slide outs out. Showed you how to operate the awning. This particular Cherokee has a 110 fireplace, so it's more or less for the ambience, but there's a power button there. There's a little thermostat right here, and it shows me on the display that's L for low heat, that's H for high heat, so it actually has an electric heating element, so it does put out a little bit of heat. It's not your furnace. This coach still has a furnace, you know, ducted through the floor, but this is something like a chill chaser. Some days maybe you won't need the furnace. So I can also change the color on that, push the flame colors to different, and it also has timer, so I can set the timer for the adequate time I want it to run for, and then the power. That's 110 only, so if you're not plugged into short power, that's not going to work. This is your indoor TV. That's that bracket I was telling you about for the outside as well. It goes inside or out. This is the TV booster. So you're actually going to have a coax hooked up to your TV, and then this little button, if it's not on, it's not working. Okay, this is your power booster. So if I'm ready to watch TV, I turn that on, and I have a digital crank up antenna. I crank this around and nice and smooth, and it'll stop right about there. Okay, then I could pull down and actually rotate it, and I'd be watching my TV with my booster on. I'd be like bzz, bzz, just kind of fine tuning it to get that channel right. Then around here, take a look right straight up from the bottom. If I gotta line these two triangles back up when I rotate, because that's where it lays down in its base. So once this and this triangle are lined back up, then I can bring it down. You'll hear it hit the roof. All there is to it. That's your digital TV antenna. Okay. I mentioned to you there's gauges outside, 1/3, 2/3 full for all of our tanks. So our gray water waste, our black water waste, and our fresh water. That's right here. So if I push fresh, I can see it's rated E for empty. It only lit up one light. Black water, same thing, E for empty. So this is a way for me to monitor all these tanks. The black water, that's the one I recommend you start 1/3 with water and the bluing in it, so that way again it's going into a solution, so when you drain it, it's got some movement. And keep in mind on the Cherokee you have your flusher built in, you can help discharge. The one next to it says battery, that's the red column, low, fair, good, and charging. It's LFGC. So right now it's showing that we're charging because we're plugged into power. As I mentioned before, we're plugged into shore power, so it's putting a trickle charge to the battery. Okay, so it is charging in the position right now. Mentioned the hot water heater had gas and electric. Right here it says HTR heater. That's where I turn it on for gas. Remember the electric switch was outside on the outside door where you little black switch. This is the gas side. if I was paying for my service and I had good 30 amp service, I would probably use it on electric, but I can't have a field day. I can't run my water heater on electric, have my fireplace on, have my air conditioner on, pop some popcorn. It doesn't work. So you got to use probably 3 appliances at once. The little fault light, see the red light? That's going to go off as soon as the water heater ignites. Seen it just go off? Now I'm lit. Okay, so that would run for approximately a half hour to heat up that tank of water, and then it runs on demand. It's thermostat controlled, so as I use water, it'll energize it and kick itself back on. Once you turn it on, you've done your part. The switch right next to it's the pump. If I turn the pump on, that's for my freshwater supply. Okay, I need that if I'm not hooked to city water. That's the only way to transfer water around the trailer. This is going to be at your state parks or primitive camping. Okay. Hot, cold, you can look on the side. Hot's towards you, cold's away from you. Hook this up. This stove has a built-in sparker, so it shows you which burner you're on. That's my rear left, my front, my rear right. So if I turn this on, the flame signal, built-in sparker. Okay, that works for all the burners and the oven. So the oven, it's got a whole nother control right here. Still the same thing. It's got a little flame indicator. I get that lined up with the arrow, and I spark. Now this takes a second. Right when you think it's getting to be a little bit long, that's when it sparks. So right there. Okay, see that blue flame back there? I just hold this in, I let that thermocouple heat up. Probably 20-30 seconds. I let go, and I bring it up to my desired temperature. Okay, that's how you use the oven. You shut it off. I definitely recommend you shut it all the way off when you're not using it, and relight it when you're going to use it again. Got a little light. Okay. Above the cook stove, you got a fan. Again, if you don't open the tabs outside, then it's got nowhere to go. And then you got a light. Microwave, this only works off of 110. This is what I mentioned before. So this won't work off of 12 volts. You have to have 110 power for your air conditioner and your microwave. Okay, I can look up here. If I have a display, that's my telltale sign that I have 110 power. If I don't have anything here, all these lights would work off of 12 volt until it was dead. Frigerator. This is a Norcold automatic. Got one button. Press. Nice soft touch. See, it came on green. If it's on green, that means it's on electric. If it senses electricity, it takes that as its primary source. Right now, if I go out and unplug it from electricity, it's automatically going to go to gas. As long as it has 12 volts off the battery, so that means your battery's charged, and the gas is turned on so it can light on gas, it automatically goes to gas. This is a Norcold automatic. That's what it does. So it works off of 110 if it can. If it loses 110, it goes to gas if it's turned on. If you don't want it to run on gas, simply turn it off. Okay? Refrigerator. That's your freezer. Right below it, this little green light, this is the carbon monoxide and propane detector. You heard me talk about this earlier. This is what will whittle the battery down if it gets a chance. So if the trailer's not plugged in, with the power converter right here, re-energizing the battery, this will kill the battery in probably 2 weeks. This is the power converter. Here's all your 110 breakers, and they're labeled. And here's all your 12 volt circuits, they're labeled. This is the whole electrical panel basically. Inside here there's a fan. So if more things are on, you'll hear the fan run. You'll hear it run louder, you'll hear it get quieter. That's what it does. That's the power converter. That's what converts 110 into 12 volts. So when you are plugged in, you got an unlimited supply, and it also has a charger built in so it recharges the battery on the tongue. Okay? Heat and cool, same thermostat. I touch the thermostat once, it says off. Touch it again, shows me a fan blade. High, low, auto. Okay? So high-speed fan, that's going to kick on the fan. I'm going to show you something right here. This is the air conditioner. So it comes out of all the ceiling ducts, but if I open this, it dumps right here. If I close that, that increases my flow out through my ducts. So if you don't want a lot of flow, you open it and dump it here. If you want more flow out the ends to your bedrooms, you close it and that'll push more flow through the ceilings. Okay, that's fan only. I didn't turn on the air conditioner, that was just the fan. So now that I got that, I'm gonna put this in auto. That's where I think it should stay, auto. Then you can put it on heat or cool. Push mode again. There it shows me a snowflake and says cool. Up and down, I can set it for the number that I'm comfortable with. Okay, that's how the air conditioner will kick on. I don't know if you heard that in the video, but I could just hear the compressor like kind of kick in. So now we're cooling. Now it's not just fan moving air, we're getting cold air. One more step would be the furnace. 90's a little warm. Okay, the furnace is a whole nother animal. Right here, this is the intake for it. It comes out of the floor registers. There's floor registers throughout. This is a suburban furnace. It runs off of propane and 12 volt. So if you don't have 110 power, it's going to work until your battery goes dead, but it's not going to be all that long. Definitely, if you're depending on heat, you need to have 110 supply so you got unlimited voltage. 12 volt motor, and it burns LP gas, so it still needs to have the propane turned on, so on. That's the furnace, and now you can hear that running. That's a whole different, got your AC on the ceiling, your furnace on the floor. Okay, and then push the mode again, then it says off, and then it'll shut off whatever mode I had it on. Everything has a delay, so even though it's off, it'll run for another 60 seconds until it actually winds up and shuts down. Just got to go through the delays and the processes. Ground fault reset. We're in the bathroom now. This ground fault reset, this controls all the wet areas. So if any of your plugs aren't working, like in the kitchen or out in the awning by the TV, check this first. Other than the power converter on the floor that we just talked about, in this ground fault, that's the only places to check for electrical breakers or fuses or anything like that. So, real easy. 2 places to look. Got a little sink stop for your sink. On the toilet, okay, you bring it up. It's a 2-position valve. So if I step down just a little bit, that lets water in the bowl. See how it just opens the water valve. I get some water in there, so I'm ready to use it. Use it, and then when I flush it, I just push all the way down, okay? And that flushes it and gives it water. Remember to start with 1/3 in that toilet tank before you use it. Fantastic vent. Most of the Cherokees have. Turn this on. You got 3 speeds. This is like having a whole house fan. Okay. I do recommend they make a dome that goes over there. Fantastic cover. They're like $89, but it allows you to leave this open and use it rain or shine. Doesn't matter if you forgot to leave the lid open, it's all protected. You can go down the road and get some ventilation and so on. So fantastic cover. I think they're like $90. Great idea. You only got the 1 vent on the roof of this, so it really comes in handy. Go ahead and look in the shower here. The shower, again, you got a hot and a cold, and then you got the shut-off ear on the head. So this is what I say is your water conserver. If you got it the right temperature, you can just shut that ear off to minimize your water usage. Okay? In the bedroom, these lights are right on all these lights have their own button on them. Got a slider window, so there's one little latch here. Slide this, okay, big window. The night shades you just pull down, go up. It's got a little top bunk access ladder there. Something you got to make sure you put away when you bring the slide outs in. Okay, it's probably would interfere with that, so you got to make sure you got that tucked away properly. USB ports, you got 110 power, and this is set up for another TV. So if you look back in here at the side, you can see a coax jack and then another 110 outlet. So you can mount a TV there. That works right off the front booster. So if you're hooked up to this coax, that works off your main antenna from the front and your booster switch up there. It's all plumbed into the same system. These flip up. Got a little storage bag here. Both sides. Also got an emergency exit window in this top bunk. So this little lever, if you pick it up, untuck it, and I recommend that you go through this with whoever's going to be in this room, and you push this out. There's a little notch right there, so you can just use this as ventilation if you'd like. But if you're really going to escape it, just push all the way out. It hinges up, pull the red screen, and pop it out. Real simple. Make sure it's latched when you're traveling. And you got your nightshade. Okay. When I leave these rooms and I know I'm going to close up the trailer, I want to make sure I'm the last one in here. I want to make sure nobody left nothing on the floor or out or put that ladder out again and so on. So I close the door, I know I'm good. You can't see the slide out from the switch back there, so you got to make sure that that area is, you know, not congested and all clear. Under these dinettes, you got the big deep drawers. Just pick up, pull out. You got a little notch that they sit in, so you do have to pick up. This makes a bed. So this right here, I pull these poles right out. Okay. This just lays right down here. And then I use these other two cushions to make it flat. Okay. Real easy. Put her back into a table. These lights here, again, button right on them. Button right on them. This is a Jackknife Sofa. So if you needed another little sleeper, got that too. Pick this up, grab the back of it. Little beverage holder built in. Alright, we'll go into the front bedroom. You probably want to come through that other side there. Again, a light. This is a flip up bed. Okay. In the back of this area, you'll see an access panel. Behind that is the hot water heater. That's where the bypass valves are found for winterizing and dewinterizing. So when you go to winterize it, that's where you're gonna have to go for the bypass valves. I would recommend professional winterization from your dealer or somebody that's done it before. If you forget something, it gets a little expensive, so make sure you know what you're doing or have somebody do it that does. We run a special every fall, so you can take advantage of that. Another exit window, nightshade. Got his and hers plugs, got USB ports, storage. Again, the nightshades on all the windows. AC duct. You can turn it. You can't close it, but you can direct it if you want the airflow on you or off you. That's the interior of a Cherokee. If you guys have any questions, feel free to give us a call, and we're here for you. This will cover most all Cherokees and Gray Wolves. They pretty much have all the same components. It just could be in different areas and so on. So hopefully this helped you, and look forward to doing business with you guys soon at Tri-City RV.